Hello guys, this is Ayşen. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my first YouTube video explaining economics, finance, and engineering topics. The first topic I will start is Introduction to Economics. Let's start. Let's start with Chapter 1, Introduction to Economics. There are two main sections of economics, which are microeconomics and macroeconomics. First, for a few chapters, we're going to see microeconomics, and we're going to discuss the microeconomics topics. And when we grasp the main idea, what is microeconomics and what is demand and supply, and what is rationality in consumers and in supply side, we're going to be discussing about macroeconomics in the future. So our first chapter is about demand and supply and microeconomics in general. So what is microeconomics? Microeconomics studies individual decisions and then it adds up these individual choices. So what does that mean? It looks at individual decisions such as in our daily lives. Like, for example, in my daily life, I can think about buying a shoes or buying a bag or buying clothes or buying food. And then there is a girl named Maria, maybe she will think about the same. And there's someone named Marcus who will think about the same. And all these ideas and decisions, they will add up and they will form the microeconomics, which is the all decisions that individuals take during their life that make up the markets, the industry. As I explained here, it looks at how people try to achieve their own goals to understand how markets and society behave. So microeconomics is mostly about understanding people's daily life decisions. Like in finance, like we try to make decisions based on our income. And in microeconomics, we try to understand why people buy certain things at certain prices, what makes them attract to those things, and so on. And what makes firms and industry attractive to consumers. So what is equilibrium, which is an important term here? Equilibrium is when no one can be better off by changing what they do. So it is, in economic terms, when demand and supply intersect each other. But what does that mean? It means that there will be a price that, as a consumer, I will say, yes, I want to buy this good at this price. It is so much worth the price. And there is the supply side. And supply side says, yes, there's this product definitely worth to be sold at this price, and it will make me so much money. And in equilibrium, it is like a secret agreement where consumer and producer kind of get along without knowing their intentions and say that, yes, I will buy this product from this price if you sell me this product from this price. And the firm side says, okay, you will buy this product and I will be happily making profit off of it. But what if, as a consumer, I say, okay, for example, you're selling me uh, these shoes from, let's say, $100. I want to buy these shoes from $100. But supply side might say, or firms might say, no, this shoes is like handcrafted or differentiates the product. Like, for example, there's so much production cost, so much uh, handcraft stuff that I have done to make this shoe. So it worth more than $100. You have to pay me, for example, $200. And it will be placed that where the consumer will say, no, thank you, I'm not gonna buy it because it's not worth my money to buy a shoe that is $200. But it's the place that the firm will be happily sell it. And if you think about the opposite side, for example, let's say um, let's again talk about these shoes. For example, you talk with the manager and stuff, and you said that, oh, I want to buy these shoes from $100, and they they kind of agreed it is the place that you're better off here, but they were sold because they do less profit than they should have. But for example, but for example, if they were selling the same shoes from, for example, $50, you will be, of course, willing to buy it because it is way cheaper. So it is a place you will be better off, and they make less profit. And let's assume there's like normal pair of sneakers, for example, and the firm wants to sell this product from, let's say, 25 bucks. But you as a consumer say, no, these sneakers are really comfortable. Like, I'm really happy with them. I want to pay you like 50 bucks for it. So this is a situation where it makes the firm better off because you as a consumer give more value to the product that they're doing than what they what the firm is actually pricing. So the goal of economics is to understand how people make choices and how these choices affect society. This is the brief way we can say the goal of economics. In order to understand the goal of economics, we ask two types of questions, which are positive and normative questions. And these are in order to understand positive economics and normative economics. Positive economics ask, what do people do? And normative economics ask, what should people do? So for example, in positive economics, let's say there's like economic crisis. What people do, they try to keep their money to themselves so they can use it in the future for emergencies. But what normative economics says, what should people do? For example, they should, if they're in a bad situation, if they should find a job, they say this is what they should do and what they do in actually. So positive economics is objective, whereas normative economics is subjective. And as a tip, normative economics include words like should, better off, and so on. Rationality and equilibrium. Rationality means where people choose the option that is best for them by comparing pros and cons. For example, let's say that I need a bag, and this bag is a very important part of my life because I will buy it once and use it every day. but I have a limited amount of money. I have two options. One option is very expensive, luxurious bag, which is way off of my income. Whereas there's like a normal casual bag, which is way cheaper but high quality. In rationality, as a consumer, I have to think about, okay, I'm going to buy a bag, but I have this much income, but I will use it this long amount of time and every day. So I have to think about all the pros and cons of buying this bag. As you mentioned before, equilibrium, which is a very important term, as I said, is a situation where everyone is doing the best they can and no one can improve by changing their choice. Whereas rationality in consumption, as you mentioned about the bag example, a rational consumer chooses the bundle that given their income and the price of the good. So as I said, in consumption, rationality is when I try to buy the goods that are um, best for my income and the price that I attach to it, like the price that I say, yes, this work is worth this money. Whereas rational firm chooses a level of quantity that gives highest profit given its cost, which means that main idea of firm is to maximize profits and, and decrease costs. And as a firm, my main aim should be produce at a quantity level that will give me the highest profit, highest returns, and lowest cost. Why lowest cost? Because profit equals to revenue minus cost, which means revenue is the uh, price times quantity, which means that the amount of good that I sold at a certain price, whereas the cost is the cost of production of these goods. And rational firm simply aims to maximize these goods, maximize these choices. Let me write it down. Let's say profit equals revenue minus costs, and revenue equals to price of that goods times the quantity of the goods that the firm sold. And the cost side, we're gonna look at the cost side of calculation in the future because it's a bit complicated topic. It includes like labor and fun productional function, functional production side effects. But in brief, rational firm aims to increase its profits as much as it can. How can they achieve this? Get as much as revenue and decrease costs. And the most important side of economics, especially microeconomics, is demand and supply. We're going to be discussing demand and supply multiple times, like you're going to hear it from me many times. And we will learn the logic of it slowly but carefully because it will like add up onto it. Like, so what is demand? Demand means how much people want to buy something at a certain price. For example, as I said before, maybe I think that the sneakers that I bought worth like $50 because they're comfortable. I can use it in my daily life, for example. So that's the price that I am willing to buy that product. Where supply means how much sellers are willing to sell at a certain price. And maybe, as I said, supply or the firm side thinks that maybe I should give less lower prices to that product, for example, $25. So this is how demand and supply curve is drawn. This is demand side. It is upward sloping. What is the logic here? As price increases, the quantity demanded by the consumer decreases. So they're they're inversely proportional. So let's write here as as price increases, demand decreases. They're inversely proportional. Whereas in supply side, as price increases, quantity supplied, as price increases, quantity supply also increases. So as price increases, the firms are willing to produce more because they're going to be making much more profit. And what is this point here? This point is the equilibrium point, where the quantity equals the quantity demanded, excuse me here, the quantity demanded equals quantity supplied. Here, consumers do not want to buy more of the product, and firms do not want to produce more of that product. So what is here? If, for example, let's say there is a place above the point where the supply side wants to increase prices, and here is called excess supply. Excess supply. In excess supply, it is where it is about the optimum price, optimal price, where it is the price where supply and demand are equal to each other, where they intersect. So it is excess supply. It is the place where supply side wants to produce more goods because the more they will produce, they're going to be making more profit. And this, in reality, pushes the prices down because, yes, the firm, if prices are high, the firm is going to be willing to produce more, but there is lower demand, as you can see here. Demand is much lower here. The quantity demand is much lower here compared to here. Whereas here, it is called excess demand, where excess demand, where the consumer wants to buy that good below the optimal price. As you can see, demand here is much greater, but as these firms cannot be maximizing their profits, they're willing to produce less. So it's going to push the prices up, and at the end, they're going to kind of agree without knowing, and in secret, they will meet here at the optimal price and optimal quantity. Okay, so this was the first chapter of microeconomics. I hope it was helpful. I try my best to explain the main terminology and the logic behind the demand and supply curve. I will try to solve more questions related to these. Um, if you have got any questions or if you like the channel, please comment, like, subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye.